Najma, pronounced correctly?
That's perfect.
Based in the UK?
Yes, based in London.
London? That's great. I used to be in London. I moved from London now. I moved in Spain.
Even
Missing
better.
even better, but I do miss it a little bit. I do miss it a little bit. You're head of partnerships at Aircall.
Yes, that's correct.
Love it.
Absolutely love it. Obsessed with my job. I say this to my friends all the time that it could not have come at a better time.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I saw you went to the Salesforce Tower for the UK and Nordic Partner Day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always amazed about these events because like it's a cloud giant, obviously, on top of having an amazing tower. It's quite cool. Aircall and you representing Aircall going to Salesforce partner events. If you could tell me a little bit about the experience, maybe also how do you prepare before going, and then what do you do next?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Salesforce is one of our key integration partners. We have a really strong integration with them, and for this particular event, it was actually 2 days, and we sponsored both days. One was a UKI partner day, and another was a Nordic partner day. And it's always good to be in front of the people that you're working with to establish that relationship more in person, and good to not just connect with our existing partners, but also with potential partners, right? And there's a lot of exciting integration updates that we're working on, especially from a Service Cloud voice perspective that's set to roll out in April. So it's really good to share information on that as well. And one thing I particularly liked was Salesforce hosted like a speed dating
Yeah.
event while we were there to help partners meet their Nordic teams and teams that we have perhaps not engaged with previously. So it was a great little 10-minute session to speak to the team leaders, to speak to the A's itself and establish that one-on-one rapport. In terms of preparation, I would definitely say over preparation is the way to go. Our teams do a really good job in collaborating in terms of what our messaging is going to be like, what our talk track is going to be. So there's a bit of consistency across what we're saying across various regions. And in terms of what's next, it's a lot more co-selling to help ultimately customers to benefit from an ecosystem approach. In fact, yesterday we hosted an event with one of our channel partners in a different ecosystem, but the main theme of it was how to unify tech stacks, right? Because what we see is like a lot of businesses are going through perhaps like a tool overload or a bit of a tool disconnectivity. So how to tackle that? So there's lots of exciting new things coming. Aircall's always been really partner forward and partner centric. So it's always great to be in front of people.
And we're gonna touch base on the tech stack, but on the co-selling, I'm really interesting. So for you, the focus to go there, it's a meet potential. It's more about tech integrations and other tech integration, or also like meet some implementation partner, solution partner. Is a bit of a mix, or predominantly one or the other?
So we work on what we call a hybrid model, where I have reps who take care of an ecosystem, and within that ecosystem, work directly with, let's say, Salesforce. They work directly with Salesforce teams, but they also work with all of the channel partners that Salesforce has, and they've agreed to partner with Aircall. So we call them our mutual channel partners, and we work with them as well. Because if you see in a particular opportunity, yes, the Salesforce A is working on it. When there's a voice requirement, one of our A's could bring us in and we could be working on it. But we also work with a channel partner within that to see if they can do the implementation, can they generate services within that. So it's a very much an ecosystem approach.
On the co-selling, because it's a topic that we speak a lot in our community. How does it happen on your side at Aircall? How does it look like co-selling at Aircall?
For sure. So because of our market positioning, typically what we see is a customer is going to look at, let's say, a CRM first, and then perhaps they're going to look at a calling solution to go with it, right? So usually the case is that, let's say, Salesforce is having a discussion with prospects, and they will perhaps then be a requirement for calling, and they'll bring us in. And to answer your customer directly from a co-selling standpoint, the reps, the AEs will have a very open discussion around, hey, these are the pain points.
Yeah.
This is the budget. These are the constraints from a product perspective from my end. These are the constraints from Aircall's end. How can we best position the solution together that will fit the customer's budget and their timelines.
Nice.
And if you look at a Salesforce implementation, sometimes it could be a lot longer compared to Aircall, right? It's a lot easier. We can implement the solution a lot quicker. So therefore, they can bring in value to a user a lot sooner as well. So it's very much a joint discussion. Obviously, it depends on things like the relationship with that particular team. It depends on the relationship with the customer itself, but the real value is the ability to have that discussion itself.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was obviously checked your LinkedIn, and you have an amazing experience. You worked at Uber and Freshwork. I mean, what a great resume. I'm sure you've learned so much there. And I was wondering a little bit is like, what have you seen that is powerful?
Definitely. First of all, thank you so much for that. I had a great time working for both of those businesses, particularly from a Freshworks standpoint. What I can tell you is that when I started with them, I think they were like a 500 employee business. And when I left the company, it was a 5,000 employee business.
Oh, by the way, how many are you at the moment at Aircall?
We're nearly 800 employees at Aircall. Yeah. So at Freshworks, I got to experience that growth, that kind of growth firsthand, which was really good. And from a partnership standpoint, I think my one takeaway is that you have to be very scrappy with partnerships. And what I mean by that is, especially at Freshworks, we operated like a startup within a startup.
Nice.
Right? We had our own solution engineering team, our own customer support team, our own marketing team, which from a partnership standpoint gives you a lot more leeway, a lot more autonomy. But with that, what comes is you have a lot to prove to the business, because I'm sure you must have heard this from your community as well, that either, from what I've seen, leadership either really believes in partnerships or always questions partnerships. Like, what is the value that you guys bring in, right? So when you're operating like a startup and other regions or other teams are wondering what it is that you actually do, and you almost have to sell internally as much as you have to sell externally, right?
Especially the salespeople, sales team, marketing team in my experience, is an issue of having their time. The salespeople is actually to have them on board to help close or help bring more partners. So yeah, internally is like, it's definitely something.
Yeah. So my biggest learning is that you have to be scrappy. You have to speak about how much and what it is that you're doing. And I will resonate that with my experience here at Aircall as well, right? When I first joined the business, one of the first asks was, we'd love to understand more all of the initiatives that you guys are working on. And from a leadership standpoint, that was like, okay, that's the first thing I'm taking on board. And something that we do quite well is on our weekly Monday sync with the whole of UKI team, we speak about all of the initiatives we're working on that we worked on in the previous week, and all of the initiatives we will be focusing on for the following week, just so the team are fully aware. And also from a resource allocation standpoint, it also helps, right? So for the lack of a better word, just constantly banging on about how much it is that you're doing, and that is what is yielding the results, is quite.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that you mentioned that you had like an entire team around partnership and not just dependent of the other departments in order to do your work, because it's even harder to prove it. We're going to do a quick game.
Mm-hmm.
Short answers. Very short. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Top 3 software for partner manager.
Good question. Definitely Slack. Lots of work happens on there. We use Fellow. It's really good to have number of action items and the follow-ups mentioned there, so everyone has visibility. This is not a tool, but it's a bit of a tactic. I'd say color blocking on your Google Calendar, so you know which meetings are partner facing and which meetings are internal.
Any PRM or partner engagement software, any sort of tools like this, do you think?
It's a good question. We've tried a few PRMs.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say we've nailed it as yet. I wouldn't say PRM, but the teams also really like HighSpot, because we can share it with partners quite a bit. Yeah, put it out there.
2 inspiring software companies that do partnership extremely well and inspire you.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm guessing you would have heard this before as well, would be Monday.com. They run a really tight partnerships team, and my second one will be HubSpot. The way they work with their app partners is great.
Of course. A little trend in partnerships in 2025, something that you've seen that is quite trendy.
So I've been attending a few of these partnership leadership meetings. I really like the fact that people are starting to add chief partnership officer roles in their C-suite, which is great. And I think I'm not sure if this is a trend per se, but one of my favorite things about partnerships is the level of diversity. There's as many women as there are men, and I hope that that continues. Yeah, that's something that I'm quite pleased to see.
When it comes to solution partners like agency consultant or implementation partner, what is for you the number one benefits they are looking for?
Yeah. I would definitely say the ability to build services around your solution offering. That's key. And I think clarity in terms of marketing and the overall partner program itself.
And not
Because we
just some fluffy marketing, co-marketing benefits, and there is nothing behind. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So having clarity on where to go for it, if we need content, it's readily available. This is a bit of a longer answer. We have this on our PRM. We have lots of marketing content. They don't even have to reach out to us. There's a big asset library on there that they can just leverage to build out campaigns, to build out events even. But obviously we will help them out more on a one-on-one basis, but everything that they need is already on there.
Nice. That's it. That's it. Thank you so much for this snappy answer. Actually, I was wondering, how do you structure the partnership team? Because you are in charge of UK and Nordic.
Mhm.
But how's your team, UK Nordic, and how's the more globally? How do you structure all this?
Yeah, so we have three big hubs. One is North America, one is EMEA and LATAM bundled together, and another is APAC. And just in EMEA and LATAM, we're a team of 15 people, right? Which is quite big considering the size of the business. But Aircall's always been very partnership focused and partnerships forward. And we have individual regional partnership groups. We have one for theme, we call it, which is France, Iberia, and then we have DACH, and then we have UKI and Nordic. So there's a couple of different pods in there, but these are our main three big hubs.
And for you, is there something specific for the Nordic and Nordic? Like something. Sometimes with our clients, we feel that there is a culture in North America and there is a European culture.
Yeah.
What is like something particular in your region compared to the others?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like from a strategy perspective, we do have to shift how we approach Nordics versus how we approach UKI. Like in the UKI, considering the location of our office, which is quite central in Shoreditch, lots of partners are around in the area. Salesforce
Yeah.
office is just down the road. HubSpot office is just down the road. So we utilize our location advantage to go meet them face to face quite often, go out for a coffee, go out for a lunch, which is great. For the Nordics, something that I've learned is that I don't think they necessarily like a pushy sales cycle. Right? They're very much like, okay, you've given me all the information I need. Give me 3 to 4 weeks to come back to you,
Yeah.
and then we'll have a discussion on the decision itself. Whereas with the UKI, you can be a lot more, I wouldn't say pushy, but a lot more, okay, let's chat next week. Let's discuss what the next steps are. Let's say you're not hearing back from a partner for a couple of weeks. You can just, and we do this if we have that relationship, obviously, but you can pop in a calendar note and say, hey, sorry, I haven't heard back from you, but I've popped in this 30 minutes. Let me know if it works, right? I wouldn't necessarily say that works in other regions.
I was wondering about the metrics that are important to you, maybe globally and maybe for your team, which I'm sure they match. But like, what do you track on the monthly basis from a partnership point of view?
Yeah. So we have a referral partnership model. Our key focus is definitely pipeline. So how many opportunities were created, how many opportunities out of that were qualified, what stages they're in, and how much are we able to close from what the partner has referred, right? So key metrics is obviously revenue, but I would say a non-obvious metric is willingness to work with us and be very, very engaged.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is something that you need to find a balance with, but we do have partners that will just refer opportunities, but they've told us head on that we don't necessarily want to engage on a regular basis. Will we continue investing in those partnerships? Not really, right? We will treat those as it's great when it comes in and when the relationship improves, great. But we would obviously give preference to partners who are perhaps at that, okay, we're bringing in 10 opportunities on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, but we're very engaged. We want to work on marketing. We want to allocate resources.
So what you're saying is basically there is partner. In order for them to produce more referral, you need to engage with them. And there is other people who are not engaged, but that doesn't mean they are not referring. They just want to be left alone. Is that what you're saying?
A bit more passive, where they're like, we'll engage with you when we want to engage with you, but that's not our core focus, right? Like, let's say we get an MDF. We're not going to pick that partner on that instance, right? I think with a referral program, there's always going to be a case where people just want to work with you when it suits them, which is fine. But I think that's when it's important to figure out what is the key motivation for the partner. I say this to my team a lot. We speak a lot about discovery in a sales aspect. Partner discovery is just as important, right? Yeah. Understanding why is this business choosing to work with me? So you can always go back to that point and saying, hey, this is the reason we established a relationship. This is the reason we set up and invested time from both of our ends to start off with. If that's changed, let's have a discussion about it and let's figure out how we can help both parties. Yeah.
You mentioned like revenue metrics, which makes sense. Partner source revenue, collaborate. Yeah. And you mentioned a bit about engagement.
Yeah.
But how do you measure engagement?
Yeah. So we have a fair few partner certifications. We do have a PRM in place. So with engagement, and our team has weekly meetings that we do on a recurring basis with partners as well. If it's not weekly, it's bi-weekly. We also run QBRs, right? It's engagement on all of that front. But also when we go to them with a new idea saying, hey, we'd love to do a campaign with you, or we'd love to do a webinar with you, it's engagement on that front as well. So assessing what works and having strong partners who are willing to engage on those is quite important.
Let's talk about bad things that can happen or have happened. If you could tell me, like, I love things that are failing because you learn from it and there is no shame to that. But like in terms of partnership, do you remember any partnership mistakes or failure that is like, you know what, we messed up here? Do you remember some of them?
Yeah, great question. I think failure is quite common in partnerships, especially if you invest a lot in a partner based on gut feel and based on your relationship with them rather than the data. Right? Because no matter what the data is saying, you're a bit biased. You're going into this with the perception that I have a great relationship with this person. This person's always willing to engage, but they're not bringing me any business. So I'm still going to keep trying and trying and trying. I think the biggest lesson is to find a balance between the two. Like, yes, partnerships is a very relationship driven role, but there needs to be data to back it up as well. Yeah.
And this is for you something that you check during the, let's say, qualification process or onboarding process, that you like start seeing if it's going to be a good one, or it's much later in the process, you would say?
Like, is the question, when do you assess the success of the partnership?
Yeah.
I would say it has to be both. It can't just be one or the other. They can't be all full steam ahead in the beginning and then disappear. It's okay if they seem a bit on the fence and unsure and have questions in the beginning, but as they get onboarded, as the process evolves, there's a bit more built in the confidence itself. But I don't think it can be one or the other. There has to be a good balance in the two.
Just a link to this question is, I come across a lot of new partners that are applying, getting accepted.
Yeah.
They do the training, certification, blah, blah, blah. They even send one or two leads and then nothing else. It's a frustration because as partner manager, we also like recurring revenue from partners and not peak of referrals. And I wonder, do you have that a lot? And how do you tackle that?
Yeah, I would say this is any partnership manager's recurring nightmare. Right? Everyone goes through this. If there's anyone who says, I've never experienced this, they're lying. I think there are a couple of key things here, right? One thing that we do is we tell the partner quite early on, bring 3 opportunities so you can see the evolution and you can see the sales cycle end to end with us as a business. So then you have a bit more autonomy and you understand the process. I feel like having something like that is a good first hook. The second thing is having a good onboarding process. I can't emphasize this enough. A well onboarded partner, you at least walk away knowing, hey, I've done everything right from my end. And they have all of the information. If it still fails, it fails. But onboarding definitely helps.
Yeah.
Another thing I think that works is just being open and upfront and honest with them and saying, hey, has anything changed at your end? If there has, you have a discussion around it. If not, if it's just say a matter of priority, something that our team does quite well is we suggest account mapping sessions and we use Crossbeam internally and say, let's start with the low hanging fruits. Let's look at what common open opportunities we have and let's take it forward from there. I think so you can apply a couple of different tactics to try and see how you can re-engage with them.
Because at the end of the day, it's not the partner manager's fault at Aircall, but it's also not really the fault of the partner because it depends on them having clients as well. So it's a nightmare for partner manager, but it's also a very far in terms of control of like having like, if it didn't have any inquiries for that particular business, but you're not going to get it at the end of the day. So it's not everybody's fault in a way.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think it's also important to know when to walk away from a partnership. I know we look at it as sunken costs, like I've invested so much time. I would really like to see some value come out of it, but there's only so much you can do. You're much better off at that point acquiring new partners and trying a few different strategies from an acquisition perspective rather than if something's not working, let's walk away.
Is there something like a tool or something that maybe doesn't exist, maybe it exists, but you don't know, that will help you save tons of time? Or is there a task that takes you tons of time and that you would like to solve?
I think it ties back to my initial point around tracking all of the activities that a partner manager is doing. If there was a tool, and this is me saying even Slack messages, because a lot of work happens there.
Yeah.
The amount of discussions you have with partners on WhatsApp. So every single activity that a PAM is doing, some sort of way to represent that. Yeah, I think being able to tie back the activities, because what we see is that you can do lots of events. There's obviously going to be delayed results from it, right?
Huge delays.
Like you could see the benefit of it 2-3 quarters down the line.
Absolutely.
Right? So some way to track that. Maybe I'm being really naive and wanting the whole world, but some way to be able to attribute that, hey, this effort resulted in all of this will be a great emphasis for partnerships.
I'm with you on that. I think salespeople and marketers have managed to do this in terms of like in their sales process.
Yeah.
Within CRMs, you can track all their usual activities, marketings with all the tracking links and everything on channels, on Facebook ads and etc. They manage to do that. But it's true on partnership, it's still like there is like activities that is not tied to, here's my referral link, click here and get a referral. It's not that like black and white. There is links that get lost, and in 3 months, the partner management team might change, or the people doing the co-selling might change. But completely agree on that. It's like there is delays in marketing and sales, but I think you can double or triple that delay in partnership.
100%. Like our activities are tracked, but they're just on so many different tools, and it is quite spread out that it's a bit hard sometimes.
Last question, a little bit about Aircall. What would you say, what's next for Aircall in terms of partnership? Something that you do that is exciting for future partners?
Yeah, so we're going to be hosting our first EMEA-wide partner summit in Paris next quarter.
Right.
We've not done this before, and we're very excited to have all the partners under one roof. Our marketing team's done a great job, and they've booked like a lovely chateau in France, which we're all really excited to be a part of and meet a lot of the partners face to face and learn from across regions as well, what's working, what's not working. So it's quite exciting, and yeah, I'd say that's the next big thing.
And in terms of like this summit, the goal is to focus on products, or to focus on the benefits of the partner program, is to focus on potential new industry demands. What is a little bit the purpose of this summit, except the mingling and network connection and etc. Except that.
Yeah, we were actually just saying, I think we want to spend very little time speaking at them and spend a lot of time speaking to them. So it's going to be very, very collaborative. In fact, I think we're just going to have 10 to 15 minutes speaking. The leadership's going to be speaking about product roadmap and what to expect and things like that. But predominantly for the rest of the day, I think it's going to be very collaborative workshops and interactions. So that's what we're looking forward to.
Fantastic. Najma, it was a pleasure. I mean, you've been amazing. I think your experience, what you've shared is going to be so useful for the people listening to this one and watching you. I wish you an amazing success. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Roman. The pleasure was all mine. I had a lovely time speaking about the thing that I really love doing. So thank you so much.